back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am slightly behind on Booktube SFF Babbles. If you don't know what this is, I'll link the Goodreads group where you can find out all the topics and join in if you want to. But I missed one, and that was auto by authors. So authors of science fiction and fantasy who doesn't really matter what they publish or what they're bringing out next. I will just buy it because I love their work and I think they're great. So I've chosen 10. I definitely could have added more than 10 to this list, but I've chosen 10. It's worrying that I've got more than 10 authors who I would just automatically buy books by, because that seems like a lot, but hey ho. So let's get started. I'm going to quickly whiz through and tell you why they are on my auto buy list. First up, I have Becky Chambers. She currently has 3 books out, technically 2, but the third one is on its way and I have read it because I got an ARC, and every single one of them is perfection. She does sci-fi so well. She does a friendly version of space that I've never seen before. I just think she's brilliant and I love all of her concepts, and the way that she writes is super easy to get into. She is amazing. Next up is Brandon Sanderson. I think I've read almost everything by him and he's written a lot, so he's kind of just on this list because of nostalgia. I love his stuff, or at least I used to love all his Cosmere stuff. I've gone off slightly, but I still think he's on my list of people I would just buy the next book by instantly. So if it's Cosmere, I'll definitely be buying it. Let's put it that way. Next up on my list is Marie Brennan, actually. I've not read all of her books yet, so I definitely need to rectify that, but I have loved this series, and I think if she brings out anything else in future, I will definitely plan on picking it up. I've read all 5 in this series. I do own the first one in her other series that I plan to get to very soon, and I love the way that she writes. She does fantasy of manners, interesting science blended with fantasy, done well, and I love it. Next on my list is Brent Weeks. Particularly this series of his is one of my all-time favourites, and I know whenever the last book comes out it will be an automatic buy, but also any future series by him. He does epic fantasy with complex magic systems, something a bit different, something a bit quirky. There's always something that will just draw you in and surprise you in his stories and make you just completely astounded by the twists. He's brilliant for surprises and I love that. Moving on to something really feel good, Michael J. Sullivan. Every book he produces from the Riaria world I love, but to be honest I would read most of his stuff, I'm sure, because he just writes really fantastically well, and he is just someone that makes me laugh, makes me smile, makes me enjoy reading, and I really love his stuff. Particularly his characters are just friendly and funny and witty, and that's always great, so I have added him to my auto buy author list. Another author who is one of my all-time favourites is Peter V. Brett. This series in particular is a series that I absolutely adore, and I believe that he is going to be producing a new series set in the same world very soon, so I cannot wait. I am so excited about that, and I will certainly be picking that series up. This is about demons and demon spawn, and it's very exciting, pretty brutal, pretty nasty, but I love it, and I think it's one of the best series I've read with demons involved for sure. Another author on my list is Emma Newman. She became a favourite last year, and since then I cannot get enough of her work. I've read everything by her. I'm currently reading her latest book, which comes out very soon in April, and I just cannot wait to continue to devour all of her book because it's just so much fun. She writes beautifully, but she's definitely not afraid of steering into some pretty harsh reality topics. Things like anxiety and rape definitely appear in her books, but she does them and handles them incredibly well, and I think she's very delicate with her touch, and she does beautiful things with the stories and the characters. Again, moving on to a feel-good one, Jodi Taylor is definitely on my auto-buy list, particularly auto-audiobook, I suppose, because I love the audiobook narrator that she has doing this series. I think she is great. So every time she releases a new book, I pick it up on audio, and then I also end up buying the physical edition because they're too pretty and I love them too much not to. This is a very British series about time travel, tea, biscuits, and misadventure, and it's so much fun, and I cannot get over just how many books there could be in this series because it explores history and there's just so much history to explore. I would love if it never ended. And of course, you guys didn't think that I would forget my two favourite authors at the moment. The first of them is Ken Liu, who writes the Dandelion Dynasty series. This is the first book. And the third one is due out, I think, at the end of this year or maybe early next year, but it will be coming and I'm super excited to see what happens. I love this series. It's epic fantasy at its finest. It's kind of inspired more by Eastern politics and landscapes and culture, and I really enjoyed that. And I think he does a fantastic job with both the male and female characters and fleshing everyone out, bringing you into the world and just making it brilliant. So if you like Game of Thrones but you want something a bit different, I always recommend Ken Liu. And I know from reading his short stories as well that he is not just an epic fantasy writer, he can write all sorts of things. So I will definitely buy whatever he brings out and read it because he is great. And the final one, of course, Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb, always. She is the queen of my fantasy heart and I love her work so much. I would read everything and anything by her. I definitely plan to pick up more of her books in the Megan Lindholm name, but particularly if she brings anything out under the Robin Hobb name, I will buy it for sure, because there is a chance that my favourite characters ever are going to be in that book. So I'm so excited for anything she ever brings out, and I will definitely auto buy everything that she brings out. So those are my top 10 at the moment. Of course, there are plenty others I could have included that I definitely will end up buying or getting, but I'd love to hear in the comments which ones are the same as yours. Do you have any that you share with me, or do you have some others that I'm missing out on? And do let me know those as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Check out the Babbles in the Goodreads group, I'll link it below, and I'll see you all very soon in my next video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.